Hey everybody, it's Rob here. Today I have a full leveling tier list with the best build guides for just leveling in the early game in Diablo 4. And before we get into it, I have the full tier list linked in the description as well, and there's going to be full planners. I wanted to go over a general thing that's changing with Season 4. We're going to have starter legendary sets. So there's going to be, per each class, and you can see the full overview here, there's going to be a specific amount of legendary items that you are getting in the season journey. Now, it is not known when exactly we're getting these rewards. I'm thinking probably about level 40 or around level 50, but we don't really have any official information on this. The only thing that we have here is in the developer talk. They actually talk about it briefly, and I want to show you here this really small section.
Cool. But you're basically going to get like close to a completed build when it comes to opening those caches. They're guaranteed targeted legendaries to build a specific fantasy for every class. I think we have a video to show what
targeted legendaries
for every class in Season 4.
You guys can see here by this footage, for Barbarian, it's going to be Dust Devils. This is a very strong starter build, and also the build that I recommend to start with. For Druid, it's Pulverize. Now, interestingly here, you see, when you know Druid, that he's not getting the Pulverize ranged aspect here, so we're not really sure, but it's still going to be one of the best Druid builds to start with, Pulverize. Then we have here the next class. I think it's going to be the Necromancer. So Necromancer is really the powerhouse. It's potentially the fastest leveler next to Sorc. The minion Necromancer is going to be strong all the way through, and it's also going to be very strong in the end game. So this is probably the easiest and also one of the fastest season starters. So the minion army, very comfortable in those capstones. We're going to get into the details. And then we have Sorcerer, and sadly, Sorcerer gets Incinerate. I mean, this build is okay, but it's not really like a strong build. I would have much rather seen Frozen Orb. So I don't actually recommend starting with this build. I would recommend you start with Firewall. We'll go over it in a second. But Incinerate does look cool. It gets all the start points, yes? And then Rogue gets Barrage, which is a very solid build. So it's like, Rogue is like kind of mid-tier in leveling, falls off a bit in the end game, but it's like pretty good like from the start, basically, solid mid-tier. So with that being said, these are basically the starter sets. Again, I have the overview here. And let's get into the tier list. Starting at the very top here, S tier, Minion Necromancer is insanely strong. You may have seen some clips already. There's been some recent adjustments where in the end game, some of the leveling of passives has been reduced, but this does not really affect any early game scenarios. So you can see here, this is like the change that is coming to the Necromancer. So the Golem Mastery and also Skeleton Mastery is capping out, not 28 ranks anymore like it used to be on the PTR. But again, it doesn't affect the leveling, and it's still one of the best builds in the end game anyways. And yeah, the Necromancer is just like easy cruising, like especially during the leveling part. There is a crazy clip here from Ponyhoff, I'm going to link this in the description, where he actually is killing the Capstone 3 dungeon. And you guys can see he's only level 54. Keep in mind, there's been new changes for level requirements. Sacred items now only require level 35. And Ancestral in World Tier 4 require level 55. So he did it perfectly on the PTR already. He went in with 54. This is what you want to do. 54 and 34 or 35 are the breakpoints. And you guys can see here like how the minions eat Elias alive. And Elias is like a hard boss. Like, I mean, I don't know if you're like used to it, like fighting this guy on a Barb or something, or on a Druid, it can be really tough. And he's level 70, so there's a solid 16 level difference. And just look at those minions plow away on this guy. This poor Elias, dude. Yeah, he gets destroyed, and easy winning for the Necromancer. And there's a couple of different ways. I think here Ponyhoff, when he's leveling this minion Necromancer, obviously you're playing with minions, you're playing with the Golem, you're playing with the mages, you're playing with Corpse Tendrils. That's always a given. I think Corpse Explosion as well, Army of the Dead, is pretty good. And then there is like two different options. You can play Blight or you can play Reap. And there's like different benefits. But yeah, there's going to be planners again here in the tier list. And there's like a step-by-step guide. So in this one here, I recommend Blight, because it has a multiplier to your minions. Whenever you affect something with Blight, you also get a multiplier. But, sorry, you can also play Sever, and this is what I meant, not Reap. I misspoke there. It's going to be Sever, and you're going to get 2% per active minion. So this is the other one. So you can also just invest into Sever, whichever one you prefer. Like I know here, Ponyhoff, he is using Sever instead of Blight. But both are viable options. It just depends on where your playstyle is at. Because with Blight, your main damage is coming from minions. And with Sever, you also have the damage that only is buffing directly to Sever. But yeah, this is going to be an insanely strong build. I'm also going to link, again, like Ponyhoff's full leveling. If you want to watch the entire thing, he uploaded 5 hours of him leveling and doing the capstones as well. The build is amazing. It's going to be a ton of fun to play, especially during Helltides. Just auto-attacking everything, so pretty cool stuff. Next on the list here, we have the Firewall Sorcerer. And there's also a video here from Gold Farming Guide. I'm also going to link this in the description. So he's been playing a new version, or a slightly adjusted version. You guys know Pets has been buffed tremendously in this patch. And he is actually rocking a Hydra Firewall Sorc. You might have heard of Firewall Sorc. This was already one of the best leveling builds in the game. And now it's combined with Hydra, which not only gets an extra Hydra that you can always summon. So you can have 2 Hydras. And those Hydras are also going to get all of your player stats, 100% of this. And this is a super cool leveling setup. You can see him just like plowing through the Helltides here, killing like the hordes of monsters. And he also did some pretty early pit runs, which is going to be very interesting with this build. So you basically burn everything and you keep running and it just like melts everything. So you can see the skill bar here, Firewall on the skill bar. Then he has Inferno for pulling stuff, Teleport, Flame Shield, Hydra. And then I think you can play Frozen Armor or you can play the Nova here on your right click. So there's going to be some pretty cool stuff. Again, the planner is also going to be linked here in the description. But it's a pretty cool build. This one is extremely strong. And yeah, a couple different options to go here in the skill tree. But you always want this Fireball enchant that's helping you a lot. And you can see for yourself. But it's going to be a pretty cool build and very comfortable to play. Very cool life per hit as well. There's like a strategy that these guys have been doing where you stack life per hit. And apparently it's like ticking crazy with burns. It's also proccing of Thorns damage if you want to play a Thorns Barb or a Thorns minion. That's pretty cool. Like life per hit is a new stat in Season 4 and it's very strong. Next here we have in A tier. Again, this is very solid overall. Is the Barrage Rogue, is the starter set. I have not really personally played so much Rogue, but I always know that Rogue is like very solid, like from start to finish basically. And the Barrage Rogue is also the starter set, so this one is going to help you out a lot. You're basically focused on your Barrage skill here that does the most damage, and you're stacking around that. You have some good damage reduction. You also have a Shadow Imbuement, which is giving you, if you go to the skill tree, some crazy energy recovery here together with Consuming Shadows, and just allows you to keep spamming those skills. And you're generally very mobile on Rogue. You have Dash, you have Shadow Step. You're going to be walking around, you have the Puncture, attacking very fast. It's a pretty cool build here with combo points and just very enjoyable experience overall. Like very solid from start to finish. And then in B tier, this has also been historically true. You have the Druid and the Barb. These are like, you know, your melee classes, and they have always been weaker and slower in terms of the leveling process, and this has not changed. Unfortunately, they have been slowly buffing things up. Like on Barb, for example, you have a bit more generating of Fury on your generators. They buffed some damage up. They buffed the Druid. There's a pretty cool build also with a Poison Creeper and stuff. But yeah, let's start with Barb here. So there is basically 2 different options. The starter stat, as you know, is Dust Devils. And yeah, there are 2 options here. One is Double Swing and the other one is Upheaval. And they're actually both pretty cool. I generally prefer the Upheaval leveling guide because it has an insane amount of range. You guys can see this is me playing it. I'm also going to link this video in the description. There's like 2 hours here of me leveling all the way to World Tier 4 with this Barb in a group though. And yeah, with the Upheaval, you have like really good range to like hit all these monsters and just like very efficient in terms of like dishing out tremendous amounts of damage. So Upheaval is pretty cool. It also stuns everything, which can help in your group here. So just like blast the Helltide, just like with every build. And Double Swing is a bit more focused if you want to more do dungeons and also if you want to do different kinds of events and strongholds and stuff. It's a better single target spell, and you can combine it with the engines, but the builds are so similar. You guys can see here. So this is double swing here on this tab, and this is upheaval. And you see there's not many differences, like in general, in these builds. So you basically have the same skill while you're just changing upheaval or double swing at the start. And this is going to basically set you up, whatever you play, to then transition into the double swing Dust Devil Barb. You can transition from upheaval or from double swing directly into this build. Once you get the starter set, you get your Devilish, you get your Fierce Winds. I'll make a separate, very detailed guide about this Barb. But one more thing to note is that I generally, in all these build guides here in the tier list, I try to avoid, and you want to do this as well, putting aspects on your weapon early on. You know, like you're leveling up, you're going to replace these weapons constantly. You're going to replace them all the time. So you see here, when we are doing upheaval uses a two-hander. So we're only putting aspects on our one-handers, right? And when we are doing double swing, you're using our two-handers, so we're only going to put aspects on our, we're using our one-handers, so we're only putting aspects on our two-handers. And this goes like throughout all the planners here, that you don't want to put anything on your weapon, because this is like your big power item that you want to replace as soon as you get, you know, like to a higher item power, or to a sacred, or to ancestrals. And then here on the last place, we have the pulverized druid. This one is still decent overall, and probably one of the best druid builds, like in general. Again, there's the poison creeper build, but this is like very, very like specific, and I don't really think that you need it at all, because you're just gonna play in Helltide, and you're gonna, you know, just have many people there. Even if you don't, you know, really have friends or a big community, the Helltide is just gonna fill with players automatically, because there's gonna be thousands of players starting out when the season starts here on this Tuesday. And the Helltide is just gonna keep filling up with players if you want it or not. So you're always gonna be in a group. So even if your starter class is a Barbarian or a Druid, you're gonna have a pretty comfortable time. You know, like early on, you might get some help from your minions, Necromancers, or from your Firewall Sorcs or something, or even from the Barrage Rogues. And you know, later on, you're gonna be helping them probably. So don't feel bad about like starting with any of these classes, but just know that you are probably not the very fastest, you know, like before you hit the end game. So Pulverize is a pretty cool build. It hits like very big AoE. It's just like upheaval, and you can snipe even enemies from range. And you can transition into one of the strongest builds in the game, which is the Tornado Druid. But the problem always is that you need the Tempest Roar before you can make the transition. And that's going to take some time. It's going to be the same here on Rogue. Like you need to transition into Rapid Fire, which I think is one of the overall strongest Rogue builds that is not bugged. You're going to be farming, you know, the unique ring, and then once you have it, you're going to be blasting. Say for the Firewall Sorc, you're probably going to transition into either Ball Lightning, Frozen Orb, or Blizzard. And most of these also require, like, you need the Orbit one, you need the Blizzard Spike one, and here you need the Fractured Winterglass. So you need to transition. And the Minion Necro is like the best one, because it doesn't really require like a unique or like some aspect even to start playing. And it's also the starter set, so the Minion Necro has it very good, I think. Like, it's gonna be overall the best build, man, from the start until the very end game as well. Definitely my recommendation, Minion Necro, but you know, just play whatever you have fun on. And again, I recommend grouping up in Helltide. I'm gonna link my Discord server. We're gonna have LFG channels. If you don't wanna play alone, it's gonna be very easy here to join the community. And then like one more tip for the capstone dungeons. So again, 35 and 55 are the new sacred and ancestral requirements. And you can do the capstone dungeon a lot earlier than usual. And you're also gonna feel very, very powerful, because you have access to the new tempering recipe. I think it starts at level 15. So once you hit like, you know, level 30 or something, 35, before you do the capstone dungeon, if you're feeling comfortable. I mean, you can also go at level 40 or 45. Doesn't really matter all too much. The tempering, and I took this from the PTR, is insanely cheap. So I think this was tempering on my one-hand weapon. It only costs 1 crystal and I think 5, what is it, ironhide or something. Like, it basically costs nothing. And it didn't even cost any gold, at least on the PTR. So these costs are nothing. Like, you know, you're gonna get many, many yellows with the new Helltide, and you're gonna get many, many legendaries anyways. So definitely temper before you enter those capstone dungeons. It's gonna help you a lot. I'm also going to make, or in the same sheet that is going to be linked in the description, there's also a leveling strategy here, how to best approach all this, but this is going to be a separate video that I'm going to be posting probably later today or tomorrow. So it's going to be there as well. You can check it out in the description. I'll put it when it's up. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this. Whatever class you're starting, I think Season 4 is going to be a blast. And I'll see you out there. GG. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.